cover this. So this is where I think all the problems started. So the precise network, this is the people with whom we worked on the app for. The first version is aimed at clinical coordinators, people standing in the clinic, etc. And the future versions will support the lab staff or the biobank staff workflows. Right now, you can collect until the primary specimen. So we don't do derivatives, aliquots. We do some of that, but it is very custom. So the main goal right now is participant visits and primary specimens. The all the screens are configurable. You can decide what fields, and independent of the web app, you can configure the screens of the mobile app, and again per protocol, so that in every so if you have got two protocols, two groups using the mobile app, one group can use it differently, the other group can use it differently, etc. It works without internet, so you can go offline, collect data, come back in. You are either outside the VPN or outside in a collection site. Come back in and then synchronize with the server. You can switch to do offline and online. If you're already within the internet or within the VPN access, then it works fully online. So as soon as you save, it shows up on the website, the web app also. So it works on an online mode as well as offline mode. Is obviously the offline mode limitation is that if you collect a participant, it won't show up in the web app until you actually come into internet or come into the VPN and synchronize with the server. Right now, it supports only Android, but the upcoming versions, we are actively working on that, will support others. The supported features are that you can register participants for a protocol. You can do, you can also, at the participant level, we support forms, which can be questionnaires, surveys, etc., but only at the participant levels. Right now, we don't support the visit forms or the specimen forms. And you can configure the visit page, the specimen page, and then you can also, if there are any custom fields that are linked with the visitor specimens, you can also do that. Configure them to be displayed and collect the data. What we don't support right now is that one is the freezer management, that is inventory management, viewing box details, etc., or any of the processing of the specimens, specimen events, query, dashboard, ordering, distribution, all those shipments, etc., is all not selected. So I will quickly show, since it's a mobile app, instead of doing a demo, it's a demo, but it's a video. I will be sharing all these links with you guys. And I hope things are now smoother than before. So the login screen, which is not shown here, is exactly same as the web app login screen. So you can the same username password works here. So it's all the same thing. There is no difference. It's like your, say, the Gmail account. You use it through the web browser or through the mobile app. Everything remains same. You still need to use the username password. You still need to log in. You will still see the same things that you can see on the web app in terms of all the privileges, roles, etc. So if you don't have access to a protocol, you won't see those protocols. So as soon as you log in, you will see the list of protocols that are assigned to you, and you can search for a specific protocol. And once you decide which protocol you are going to collect specimens for, so once you go into that protocol, like in the web version of Open Specimen, you see the list of participants. This also shows the list of participants and their subject ID and date of registration, etc. Right now, this screen is not configurable, but again, something that upcoming versions will allow you to do that. And there is a search option here. If you want to search for one of the existing participants, you can do that, or the red icon here to do the add of a new participant, you can do that, the red button here. So when you click on add participant, you can it shows, like I said, this is a fully configurable page. So right now you see here that it has a set of fields which is completely different than our standard page on the web app, which has things like first name, last name, MRN, etc. For this study, they didn't want all that, so it is configured the way they want. So so that's the participant registration page. So once you create the participant, you can go inside the participant and it will show you a overview as well as separate tabs for visits and specimens. So this is the equivalent to the participant overview page in Open Specimen, and you can edit this participant again clicking on that red button, or you can switch over to the other tabs of visits and specimens to see the collect rest of the data for this. And again, it is all based on collection protocols configuration. So you can if you are depending on how many events and how many visits you have collected. So for example, here this is showing all the visits that are already created for these patients, the booking event or the screening event or the antenatal event, etc. Again, this is the visits page. So this might look very different to what you are used to, because based on this study needs, it needed only these fields. So the usual fields like clinical diagnosis, etc., are not here. So it just has which CP event is this collecting data for, what is the visit date, and the sample origin is basically whether it is the mother or the child or baby 1 or baby 2, etc. So this is showing the overview when you go into an existing visit. And like you see in the participant page, there were 3 tabs. When you go into the participant, there were additional tabs for, say, the visits and the specimens. Similarly, when you go inside the visit, it only has the specimens, that is the primary specimens of that visit. So that's the natural progression in terms of data. And this is when you switch over to the specimen tab, it shows all the specimens that has been already created, and you can either collect additional specimens or so the again, this the specimen, these are the specimen specimen fields there. So you go into the specimen again. So it is now, like I said, we do support a bit of aliquot features, but it is not full-fledged. So that is why we are not claiming to support aliquoting in the web app, because mainly right now we don't support storage containers being fetched from, because the storage container is a bit more complicated because of auto allocation and which box has how much space. We also have to calculate the reserved specimen. Boxes can be reserved for certain types of specimens. So all that is a bit more complicated. So we're not yet supported that, but we do. The app does have a basic support for aliquoting, but it does not have full-fledged storage container support as of now. So that's why we don't really claim to support aliquot. So we only talk about until the primary specimen, because from a clinic coordinator's point of view, that is enough for now. So coming back to the participant, so you can do back, and you can go back to the the other pages. So these are the specimens, visits, and the part. So this is for this participant. So this is the participant ID 220001, and so yeah, so that is the extent of what is the support for mobile apps. So and one thing that is not I think in this video we need to update this video is the support for forms. When you when if you have configured forms for that protocol at the participant level, you can also collect data in the forms. So in the latest versions of Open Specimen 6.3 onwards, you can configure forms in a layout mode. That is, you can configure forms where instead of having one big form, you can do pages inside the form. So you can say display only 4 fields in page 1, 4 fields in page 2, etc. So that is useful in a mobile app kind of environment where you can't have, you don't want to display a large form in the mobile app. So you can define pages, and you can make sure that there's only 2 fields displayed per page, etc. And I'm talking specifically for the custom forms. You can think about it as survey mode, design that is, if you imagine a survey mode, you don't really have like a page with 50 fields in one go. So you can design 3-4 fields in the page and then click next, go to the next page. You can do next and previous, etc. Until you reach the end. So you can define multiple pages, and this is something that you can do in the form design itself, using the UI designer or through the XML, etc. So that's about the mobile app. And let me now switch to the e-consent introduction. The next version of mobile app we are planning in another 3 months time, which is going to be the one that supports non-Android platforms, as well as it will have additional features for the biobank staff level. It might not have things like query and distribution, but it will have definitely inventory management and looking at a box, etc. Additional features aimed at biobank staff will be supported in the mobile app, and we are looking at another 3 months from now, the next release of the mobile app. And the mobile app basically consumes all the Open Specimens APIs. This is where Open Specimens APIs come into picture. Open Specimen being 100% API driven, and all of them being REST APIs. It is kind of easy to build apps around the application, and mobile app is like one more app which just consumes those APIs. So we don't have to build additional things in the application just to develop the mobile app. So now I'll move on to e-consent. This works with the Open Specimen 7.0 that we just released. This is a plugin, and we developed this with the Columbia University Biobank, where we are also working with them on their COVID collections, and also other we have been working with them for the past 1+ year now. So before I get into what Open Specimen does, typically what I've seen is that a lot of centers use REDCap for e-consent collection. And I just want to address, because people think, oh, why do we need e-consents in Open Specimen? We already do that in REDCap. So I just thought I'll take that up front and talk about that. There are major differences between what REDCap does and what Open Specimen does. It's like using REDCap for biospecimen data, right? So REDCap is finally a form builder. You can build different forms, but it is not specialized to solve a particular problem. So in consenting case, it is not specialized to form e-consent problem. All you do is build different forms and you collect data, and that it does well. But in case of consents, the major challenges are that over a period of time, forms can get versioned. That is, the consents, you go to IRB, you change questions, you add new things, you change the old the existing questions, etc. And all of that leads to versioning. So you need to track which patient was consented on which version. Do you need to reconsent the patient? What is the new data that is collected, etc. None of those things is possible in REDCap, and even if you create a new form, new version, there is no link between the two forms. And that is the next point. That is, you can, in Open Specimen, you can create consent statements and reuse it across forms, so that tomorrow when you're doing queries, reporting, etc., you can say that, okay, give me the patients who have consented for this particular question or things like that, and it will search across multiple languages. It is not just versioning. REDCap and Open Specimen also supports multiple languages. For example, you can have the Columbia University guys have the same consent in Spanish and same in English. But how do you now generate queries across these two forms, right? So if it is independent questions, independent fields, it is very difficult to create reports for because when you're looking at patients and patient data, you're least bothered about whether the patient, consented using a Spanish form or an English form. So that is where the reusing the consent questions come into picture. Same way, the custom fields in the consent form. For example, you have things like consent witness, consent date, etc. Again, you should be able to reuse them and not having to create additional, independent fields in each form or each language. And when you have all these things done, your reporting becomes seamless, because you can, from what I know, REDCap does not even have a reporting module. You can just export these sheets, or maybe there is some basic reporting. I'm not an expert in REDCap, but you all who have used Open Specimen and its reporting module, you can build reports based on conditions. You can report based on things like, say, show me all patients who are going to become 18 years in the next 90 days, so that I can go back and reconsent them once they become majors, once they turn major. So those kinds of reporting. And also now, because of ability to reuse the consent questions, ability to reuse the custom, the fields in the forms, reporting becomes very seamless, streamlined, robust, etc., which is again not possible in REDCap. So that is the main difference between, or the main intention between building and consent module inside Open Specimen, is that it is a dedicated custom module built for consenting, compared to just a form builder kind of application, which where everything is data and you just build forms and collect data for that. So the goal of the e-consenting module is, apart, Open Specimen had consents before too. Here now the goal here is that you can actually interface with the patients, either as the clinic staff standing in front of the patients in the clinic, or even emailing the consent URLs directly to the patients, or handing over the tablet to the patient. So there is a patient mode data entry, and you can hand over the tablet to the patients, and when they have the tablet in their hand and you have switched to patient mode, they won't be able to see rest of Open Specimen. They won't be able to search for other patients or switch tabs, etc. So the patient mode allows them to see only the consent form and do next, and do the data entry for the consents and nothing else. It supports multiple languages. Right now, we are doing for the current use case, we are doing Spanish and English, but it can do anything else too. This is one of the most powerful features of the consent module, that is ability to create consent forms, versions of the forms. So you can have 1.0, 1.1, etc. And when I say, we'll see in the when I do the live demo, and then you can collect, associate patients with the versions, and also in the reporting you can see which version was this consent data collected for. The screens can be, because we now support layouts, that is doing next kind of, survey kind of layout design. The screens can be designed in a mobile or tablet friendly way. I talked about the patient mode data entry, where you can, imagine you're a clinic coordinator standing in the clinic in front of the patient, and you register the participant first, select the right consent form, whether it is a minor, major, etc. And then you switch to the patient mode and hand the tablet to the patient, and then they can sit and do the data, collect. So now you can imagine that there are multiple patients in the clinic. You don't need to, you can basically distribute the tablets to them, and they can just roam between them to answer any questions or monitor or whatever. You can also email the consents to the consent form to the patients. This is kind of a survey mode operation, where instead of taking it face to face, you give them 10 days time or whatever and send it to the patient. It also sends reminders if they are not entered the data within that time. And there is a limit of, say, X number of days. It can be 5 days, 10 days, etc. And if they don't answer by then, the survey link will be disabled for security reasons. You can also define data validation rules. You can say things like, don't allow specimens to be collected unless the consent has been taken from the patient. So this is all custom rules per CP. So a protocol, you can define what you want to do at a protocol level. For example, some CP might be very strict. That is, they might say that the IRB approval might say that no need to collect specimens until the patient has consented. But in some other cases, for example, right now in COVID, etc., where the consent might be collected later, and whereas the specimens are banked right now, you might say that, okay, we don't want to define such strict rules, but you can define these rules at the protocol level. And finally, this is a new option in the form builder to support signatures as a data type. That is, you have things like file, drop down, radio button, etc. Now also there is an option for signature in the form builder, so where people can actually sign on the tablet itself and save it in the screen. So you can also have multiple signatures in the form. For example, there can be a patient signature and the witness signature, or minor signature and guardian signature, and then the patient signature, the witness signature, etc. So there can be multiple signature fields in one custom in one consent form. As a summary, you can do versioning, multiple language, tablet friendly forms, email participants, patient mode, data entry, and reporting. I'll switch to. Okay, I'm happy to see that there are no more comments about the screen being not visible. So yeah, so this is I want to show you the so I hope open specimen is visible now. So I'm going. So this is a e-consent demo protocol that we have designed. So if people who are familiar with open specimen and collection protocol, etc., will know that when you go to the this is the consent tab within the collection protocol, and it looks very different than the normal consent tab. When the e-consent plugin is not installed. So here now you see all the consent forms that are linked with this protocol. So the concept is that a protocol can have multiple consent forms. It can be either because they are different languages. For example, there is a Spanish language and an English language, or it is because there are different types of consent forms. There is like the normal consent form, the patient consent form, then there is a surrogate form, and then there is assent. So you can define as many different types of consent forms are there for that protocol. And also you can if there are multiple versions, you can keep versioning the forms. Any unused form can be archived, and you can so that they don't show up for new patients. But if you have already collected data under an archived consent, it will continue to exist, and you can go and see, report, you can collect, you can do anything else with that. Let me open a sample consent form. So the consent form can be designed exactly like what has been approved by the IRB. So whatever is the form in terms of formatting, like you have something that is bold, you have something that is underlined, there must be something somewhere that is hyperlinked, etc. Even if you want to include things like embed a video, explainer video, because when you email something to the patients, you might want to create a video and explain them about the study, research, etc. Even those things can be included here. You can also include images, etc. here. So you can design basically the form in whatever way you want. So once you do that, the next, so that is the part one of the consent form. The part two of the consent form is the consent questions, what we call as consent tiers in open specimen. So for example, do you consent to participant biobank? Do you consent to distribute specimen to external institutes? So you can, these are, we just set up different examples where you can define something as a radio button, something as a drop down, etc. So you can do, so these are the things that I was saying, as you can reuse across forms and languages. Now, do you consent to participate in biobank activities can be even in the Spanish version, there will be the display language will be different, but internally the consent code used will be same. So therefore the data gets collected under the same consent statement. And then the bottom half is the custom fields that you link with the consent. So you can have consent date, witness, whatever else that you want to do. So this is a signature field, comments, etc. So you can basically have anything else in any kind of any number of fields. For example, this can be multiple fields, consent signature, witness signature, etc. So that's what constitutes a consent form. And right now I'm still within the collection protocol, so I'm just showing you the configuration of the consents. You can add new consent, you can also update the consent, existing consents. You can create a you see the toolbar on the right, you can create a new version of the consent, archive the consent document or download the document so that you can import it in the say suppose you are in the test server, you want to migrate it to production server, you can do all that things. So and the consent is the consent document itself is formatted using HTML. So what this means is that because HTML is so flexible, you can pretty much design whatever you want in whichever whatever formatting. Suppose you want red font and underline something to make sure it is noticed. All those kinds of things can be done in the consent form itself. So it is very flexible. So and makes it very very easy to develop visually appealing consent forms, especially if you are emailing it or giving it to the consent patients to enter data. So and also you can sort, and there is validations that I was talking about. That is, you can say on what basis should you allow the specimens to be collected. So in this case, if you see that if it is the major above 18, then they just need to say they consent to participant biobank activities. But if they are minors, then they may you might have a different set of rules. So you can consenting surrogate and assent, etc. So you can have different set of rules based on what kind of consents you are collecting. And let me also show a Spanish form, and this is an example of the survey kind of form, that is with next button. So you see that it's in Spanish, and you can do next and go to the different pages. And once you reach the end, I think it has about 19 pages. So you see things are hyperlinked and things like that. And so finally you see the consent fields, again signature kind of fields, etc. So you can do all that. So that's the configuration of the consent forms. So now once you are inside the as a patient you're collecting data. So one of the things that we have also added in the roles is a special role for consent collector, who can only do that. So they don't have access to collect visits and things like that. So they can only have collect patient data and consents. So in a different tab, I have logged in as a consent collector. Because I logged off, it went away. So let me open that. So they see a very minimal screen, and the only thing they can do is collect consents, and you can also register participant and collect consents. You see here in the the menu, you don't see anything else other than collection protocols, and you can go into the participants. Once you go into the participant, the only thing that you see here is the forms and the consents. No visits, no specimens, etc. And once they go into the consent tab, you see consent that has already been collected. It will show, who collected it, when was it collected, and if it was updated, data was updated, it will show that. All the consent information that has already been collected is all displayed here. The signature, etc., is here. And suppose if you want to, if you're collecting a new patient data, so you see all the forms that are associated with the patient with that collection protocol here. And you see two modes. You see the add mode and the patient mode. So if you're handing the tablet to the patient, you can use the patient mode. And in this case, what happens is that, as soon as you select this, you see that it will pop up saying switch to patient mode, you will be signed out, etc. Now you see that everything goes away. So there is nothing at the top, there is no search bar, there is no tab on the left hand side. It's just the consents. That is all they can do. And once they finish the data entry, they can give it back to the, they can enter the data, and save. And now it says, thanks for taking time to read and answering questions. So now the consent collector has to sign back in to be able to access the system. So this is kind of a safety for not allowing the patients to look at rest of the system or rest of the data in the system. So that is the patient mode that we were seeing. And now that the whatever patient entered is now visible in the system for for the coordinator to look at it. And now if they want to enter the witness data or witness signature, etc., they can do that. That is the add patient. And also if you have configured any forms, they can see that. And as you see here, for the same patient, if I go in as the normal user in the other tab, now this is how it looks. So you see the difference that in the bottom you see occurred visits, and you see all the visit information. On the left hand side you see so many things, whereas here this user can only see the patient and the consent. So this is kind of an progress in terms of you can now create users who cannot see specimens in Open Specimen. So if you want clinic staff because we are also talking about using Open Specimen like REDCap. So you don't need a REDCap if you don't want to use REDCap, because instead of having multiple systems, you can just focus on one application which does both things for you, which makes the user training easier, reporting easier, etc., etc. So you don't have to bother about because with the forms module you can create forms also in Open Specimen, but with the option to now create users without access to specimens, now you can create pretty much clinical coordinators who just do the patient registration and the collection of data at the patient level, and the lab staff who can then do rest of the processing for that patient. So that's the if you're a normal user, obviously you can see the same amount of stuff along with the other things in the system. Let me just see. Yeah. So the next thing that I want to show is emailing the to the patients. So you see here there is survey links option. So this shows if the this patient has been emailed any of the consent statements. And as I said earlier, when you send an email, it is valid for X number of days. In this case, it was valid for 5 days, and after within that, if the patient does not enter the data, it will expire. And the way to do it would be that you can now select the patients that you want to send the forms, and you can say email survey, which is and you need to have email addresses collected for that user to be able to send the email, send the survey forms, obviously. So let me remove the ones who don't have. And then you go to the next step. Now you can select which version, which consent do you want to send. So is this a Spanish patient and you want to spend Spanish consents? Do you want to send English consents? So you can also send multiple. For example, if it is surrogate, you can add surrogate as well as assent, etc. So and then you can submit, and it will send an email to the patient. The contents of the email can also be configured. You can define what, what should the, at the collection protocol level, you can define, what should be the email, what should be the subject, what should be the, the description or the content of the email. The few of the things that we are not supporting, which is supported by REDCap, is that you can define the email content per form rather than a generic email at the collection protocol level. So we are planning to support that too in the upcoming version. And also you can have rules defined where you don't need to then manually send the emails. You can define rules like, if the patient is less than 18 and if the patient language is Spanish, then send these forms automatically. If the patient is greater than 18 and English, send these forms automatically. So things like that. The email content is defined, the rules are defined. So as soon as you register a patient, you can the system will automatically email the patient the forms to the uh, patient. So as a side note, this email survey can also be used for sending normal forms, custom forms also. So this is kind of again using Open Specimen in an EDC mode for collecting data. So even if you are not using e-consents, you can still send email. For example, if you created a medical history questionnaire, you can still send the forms to the send that form over email to be collected. But again, one of the things that Nicole had asked over an email was that, can these emails be sent if the Open Specimen is within VPN? But that can't be done, unfortunately. You have to because the patients have to have access to the URL, and for the URL to work, the Open Specimen has to be on a public IP address. One question I saw on chat is that, does it support thumbprint? And I don't know how that will work. So I'll need to check that and get back to you, Berchi, on that. But that is a very interesting question. We have not thought about it. And I suppose the thumbprint is also, I think the way it works is that you need to have a scanner, thumbprint scanner, and when you hook it up with your computer or laptop or iPad or whatever, it ultimately gets converted to an image, which is then stored in one of the forms. So I think that technically the answer is yes, though you'll have to try this end to end to figure out whether it works or not. And the last thing in the e-consent module is the reporting. I won't go into that much because it's the standard, the usual reporting module that all of you would already know, which is this when you go into create forms, you'll see consent as the as one of the subforms here. The additional things here is that you can see things like versions of the document, title of the document, which is the consent version, when was it created, collected, any consent code, response, all these things can be displayed here, including all the custom forms that you linked with the custom fields that you linked with the consents, like the consent witness, consent date, etc., signature of the patient, guardian name, all these things can be linked with the can be used in the reporting for the and all the advanced stuff that you usually do with the Open Specimen reporting in terms of, say, the subqueries, etc., all that is available even with the consent based forms. That's about it. Any questions? Feel free to. We still have, I think we are almost there. But if you have any questions on the chat or on the web meeting itself, feel free to ask me. And I'll also be sharing the PPT and the video recording. I'll chop off the initial where we wasted time, but then I'll upload it. When can we use this app? If you're talking about e-consents, both the e-consent and the mobile app is not free. There is an additional fee for using that. But this is right now released. 7.0 is also released, and the e-consent module is also available, and the mobile app is also available. So anyone is interested, we'll be happy to share that, in a testing. Our demo sites also have these apps, plugins, and we'll also be happy to give it to you for testing locally before you decide whether you want to use it or not, and help you with the configurations, etc. And once you are happy with it, if it makes sense, then we can talk about using it in the production. What is the extent of the consent to Epic interface? Can we upload the whole form? Okay, yeah, so the e-consent to Epic, a rather open specimen to Epic, is possible through HL7. We have done this integration for a lot of existing customers are already using our Epic interface. And right now it is limited to patient demographics and not consents. But it is an HL7 based interface, so it is very easy to extend it to even include consents. If you're already collecting consents in Epic and you want to pull that data into open specimen and into the consent module. So our current Epic interface does not out of the box support it, but it is very easy to do, and adding link, etc. is all possible as long as we get that data from Epic. So finally, it is a question of how will the data come from Epic, and right now there are a couple of different options we support, that is HL7 or nightly data dump from Epic. Whichever works for you guys, we can help you with that integration. We already have experience of doing this for multiple clients. Okay, one last call. Any other question coming up? I don't see anything now. So thanks everyone, and I'm extremely sorry. I'm not sure what went wrong, because it used to work before and it worked later also once I logged off and came back in. But thanks for your patience, and I'll share the recording and the PPT, etc. And feel free to email me directly if you have any questions or would like to evaluate the plugin in your local environments. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.